On a frigid November night in Brookridge County, the streets were empty and silent, the only sound the distant rustle of wind through bare trees. The town seemed to be holding its breath, wrapped in a blanket of uneasy quiet. Until Frank Miller's headlights pierced the darkness and caught a small, shivering figure on Old Mill Road, standing alone in the cold. He slowed to a stop, expecting to see a deer or maybe a stray animal, but instead found a young girl, barefoot and trembling in torn pajamas, her hair tangled and face streaked with tears. Frank approached slowly, hands raised in a gesture of peace. "It's okay. I'm not going to hurt you. Are you all right?" he asked gently, trying not to frighten her further. The girl's eyes were wide with terror, darting nervously into the shadows. She whispered, "Help me. He's going to come back. Please, you have to help the others." Her voice trembled with fear and urgency. Her name was Emily Carter. She'd been missing for 3 agonizing weeks, her face plastered on posters and news reports all over town. Frank quickly wrapped her in a warm blanket and called 911, his heart pounding as he tried to comfort her, realizing the gravity of what he'd stumbled upon. Emily's return would ignite a firestorm, exposing a darkness that had been hiding in plain sight, right under the noses of everyone in Brookridge. The peaceful stillness of Brookridge was shattered forever, replaced by whispers and suspicion that crept through every home. That night, the town's sense of safety vanished, replaced by a chilling uncertainty that settled over every family, every neighbor. Emily's desperate plea hinted at horrors yet to be uncovered, secrets buried deeper than anyone could have imagined. The community would soon learn that evil had been lurking right beside them, hidden behind familiar faces and quiet doors. Frank's simple act of kindness set off a chain of events that would change everything, unraveling the fabric of trust in Brookridge. Emily's words, "Help the others," echoed in Frank's mind as sirens approached, a haunting reminder that more lives were at stake. The nightmare was only beginning, and the darkness that had haunted Emily was about to engulf the entire town. Brookridge County would never be the same. The shadows that once seemed harmless now held secrets too terrible to ignore. News of Emily Carter's rescue spread like wildfire, but the relief that swept through Brookridge was quickly replaced by a chilling sense of dread. The story dominated every conversation, every headline, and every whispered rumor in the quiet town. Parents clung to their children, refusing to let them out of sight. Playgrounds, once filled with laughter, now stood eerily empty, the swings creaking in the wind as a haunting reminder of innocence lost. Doors were locked even in broad daylight, and neighbors eyed each other with suspicion, peering nervously through curtained windows, wondering if danger lurked closer than anyone dared admit. The sheriff's department buzzed with urgency. Phones rang off the hook, and officers worked around the clock, piecing together the fragments of a nightmare that had become all too real. Emily's injuries told a silent story of captivity and struggle, each bruise and bandage a testament to her ordeal and her will to survive. Sheriff Brody, a veteran of 30 years, knew this was no ordinary kidnapping. The case weighed heavily on him, the faces of missing children haunting his every thought. 2 other children had vanished from nearby counties. Could they be the others Emily mentioned? The possibility sent a fresh wave of fear through the community. The hospital became the investigations center, guarded day and night, as officers and detectives searched for answers within its walls. Emily, traumatized and withdrawn, barely spoke. Yet her very presence was a fragile beacon of hope, a sign that not all was lost. Detectives brought in a child psychologist, hoping Emily could lead them to the truth, gently coaxing her to share what she remembered. The town held its breath, united in fear and hope. gathering for candlelight vigils and praying for the safe return of the missing. Emily's bravery was their only chance, her courage inspiring a community desperate for answers. Officers prepared for a search, desperate to find the missing children before it was too late. Every second counted, and every clue mattered. The community's trust was shattered, replaced by suspicion and anxiety. Friends became strangers, and every unfamiliar face was a potential threat. Every parent wondered, who could have done this? The question echoed in every home, fueling sleepless nights and urgent whispers. Emily's ordeal forced Brookridge to confront a terrifying reality. Evil had found its way into their peaceful town. The clock was ticking, and the whole county waited, hearts pounding, for Emily to guide them into the darkness and toward the truth. The search for answers had begun, and Brookridge would never be the same. After a night in the hospital, Emily agreed to help the police. Bundled in warm clothes, she pointed toward the dense forest off Old Mill Road. "It's deep in the woods. You can't see it from the road," she whispered. A search team assembled, following Emily as she led them through thorns and over fallen logs. She remembered every detail: a strange rock, a creek, a cluster of birch trees. Without her, they would have been lost. The forest grew colder, dread thickening with every step. After nearly an hour, Emily stopped, pointing at a dilapidated house hidden by overgrown bushes. Smoke curled from the chimney, a chilling sign of life. Officers drew their weapons, faces grim. They had found the monster's lair. The house looked abandoned, but evil lingered within. Emily's courage had brought them to the threshold of horror. The search team braced themselves for what lay inside. The fate of the missing children hung in the balance. The woods, once a place of childhood adventure, had become a landscape of nightmares. The rescue was about to begin. The tactical team breached the decrepit house, their shouts echoing through the silent, moonlit woods. Every step forward was tense, the air thick with anticipation and dread. Inside, the main room was filthy, littered with trash, broken furniture, and a smoldering fire that filled the air with a bitter, acrid smell. The chaos hinted at a desperate, hasty escape. On a battered table, a map with red circles, binoculars, and a notebook detailed local children's routines. This was no accident, but a meticulously planned operation. The evidence was chilling in its precision. The captor was gone, but the sense of menace remained, lingering in every shadow and creak of the floorboards. Officers searched desperately for the missing children, their flashlights cutting through the darkness as they called out names, hoping for a response. A deputy noticed a threadbare rug out of place. Beneath it, a heavy trapdoor, its edges worn from use but expertly concealed. Tension mounted as they pried it open. A wave of cold, musty air and faint, desperate crying rising from below. Every second felt like an eternity. Relief and horror mingled. They had found the children, huddled together in the darkness, their faces streaked with tears and fear. Sheriff Brody shone his flashlight into the darkness. "We're coming. You're safe now," he called, his voice trembling with emotion and relief. The real horror was just beginning to unfold, as the team realized the depths of the captor's cruelty and the secrets hidden within these walls. The house was a carefully constructed trap, designed for secrecy and control, with hidden locks and surveillance that revealed a twisted mind at work. The officers' discovery would haunt them for years, the images of that night forever etched in their memories. The children's ordeal was far from over, but hope had finally arrived. Gentle hands wrapped them in blankets, offering comfort after so much fear. The basement below held the answers and the scars of unimaginable cruelty, its walls bearing silent witness to the suffering endured there. The rescue was underway, but the hunt for the monster had only just begun. The community would not rest until justice was served. Evil had left its mark on Brookridge, a scar that would take years to heal, but the fight for justice had only just begun. The basement was a world of darkness and fear. Two children, Sarah Jenkins and Leo Martinez, huddled on a filthy mattress, eyes wide with terror. A female officer offered comfort, breaking the spell of silence. The conditions were appalling. A bucket for a toilet, empty water bottles and crude drawings scratched into the stone. This was a cage, designed to break their spirits. The children clung to hope, even in the darkest place. Paramedics brought them into the daylight, their ordeal finally ending. Investigators realized this was no temporary cell, it was a long-term prison. The abductor was methodical, patient, and utterly without empathy. The rescue was a victory, but the monster was still at large. The nightmare was not over. Forensic teams uncovered the abductor's chilling methods. He tracked children for weeks, targeting the vulnerable. The house was rigged with alarms and escape routes, allowing him to vanish before police arrived. In the basement, a small TV and children's movies were used as tools of manipulation, rewards and punishments to control the captives. Emily later revealed he left them alone for days, barely enough food to survive. Her escape was an act of sheer will. She worked at the trapdoor bolt for 2 days, fingers raw, until it finally gave way. The system was designed to break them, but Emily's defiance saved them all. The evidence painted a portrait of a predator who thrived on control and secrecy. The hunt for him intensified. With the children safe, detectives pressed for a description of their captor. Emily described a middle-aged man with kind eyes, sandy hair, and a scar above his eyebrow. He called himself Mr. David. She recalled him mentioning Maple Drive and fixing a leaky faucet at his real house. Investigators cross-referenced the sketch and address, finding a match. David Anderson, a handyman living at 142 Maple Drive. He was trusted by the community, had worked for many families, including the Carters. The revelation sent shockwaves through Brookridge. The monster was the friendly neighbor. Anderson had used his job to observe and access families without suspicion. His face was released to the public, now the most wanted in the state. The community's sense of trust was shattered. The wolf had been hiding in sheep's clothing all along. The search for Anderson became a statewide manhunt. The town grappled with the horror of betrayal. The true face of evil was finally revealed. SWAT teams stormed Anderson's home, but he was already gone. The neat suburban house hid a dark secret, a basement filled with surveillance photos, maps, and notebooks. Anderson had been abducting children for years, across multiple states. He monitored police scanners and fled as soon as Emily was found. His car was discovered abandoned hundreds of miles away. The manhunt became one of the largest in state history. The FBI joined the search, placing Anderson on their 10 most wanted list. Despite thousands of tips, he vanished without a trace. Anderson was a master of disappearing, blending into the shadows. For the families, there was no closure, only fear that he could return. The community remained on edge, haunted by the specter of his crimes. The hunt for justice continued. Evil had slipped through their fingers, but hope endured. Emily Carter's courage brought light to the darkness. Her escape saved not only herself but also Sarah and Leo. Though Anderson remains at large, his reign of terror was ended. Brookridge County was forever changed, its innocence lost, but its spirit strengthened. Parents became vigilant, neighbors united, and the community rebuilt its sense of safety. The house in the woods was torn down, but its memory endures. Emily, Sarah, and Leo began to heal, supported by family and community. Emily was hailed as a hero, though she saw herself as just a girl who wanted to go home. Her bravery inspired everyone, proving that even the smallest voice can make a difference. The search for Anderson continues, but hope remains. Brookridge will never forget the night Emily Carter saved them all.